Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Autastic, Comedian's Guide to Autism. My name is Kirk Smith and my co-host and buddy,
Graham K.
Boom.
We are in the same room.
Yeah, no microphone covers. It's very raw in here.
Even though there was a delay, because I couldn't think of the word. There are still delays.
But they're manufactured, man-made delays this time,
they
not
are.
machine delays.
They are due to my brain not working, which is a theme of this show a little bit, this episode.
Forecasting, foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Anyway, this is the Comedian's Guide to Autism. Kirk has a nonverbal son. I have a brother who is verbal, sometimes unfortunately. No, I love him so much. Calls every day. Yeah. You just got back.
Flew in late last night, 1 a.m.
Oh my gosh, are you tired?
Exhausted. That's my normal state these days.
Well, we're going to play basketball after one-on-one.
Brother,
I got you right
I didn't
where
say we're
I
going to play
want you.
one-on-one. I said we're going to play. We'll see. Hopefully we can play some people. I'd rather play with some people than one-on-one. There's no passing, no nothing.
Yeah.
No tricks.
Oh,
No backdoor cuts.
this guy's scared.
I am in the worst shape of my life, fattest I've ever been, and I'm shorter than you. And I'm fatter than you. Not good.
I've gained back all the weight I lost in the past 3 years.
I'm still heavier. How is that possible? That's how. I'm patting my belly. If you can't hear the sound.
The lady downstairs can hear.
I just got back from Sweden. I was with JJ for the second week of this summer. I was out there. I've been out there 2 weeks this summer. I was out there a week in June, a week in July.
Yeah.
And,
That's a lot.
bro, summer's in Sweden. And Sweden is the size of, I think, California, maybe a little bit bigger, but only has 9 million people, which is probably the size of the metropolitan New York area.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of space. And we were north, I think a similar latitude to Juneau, Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
11 o'clock at night, still light outside.
Mm-hmm.
We had a beautiful summer time. We went we did all the rounds. We did IKEA. We did Big Boy, which is not my nickname for my son, but it's a restaurant that he enjoys, which ironically is probably his favorite restaurant.
Is it a burger restaurant?
Mm-hmm.
From like from the 50s? They have Big Boys up
From
there?
Sweden. It's called Big. It's not the guy holding the hat. I think that's Big Bob, right? Bob.
I think it's Big Boy.
Well, this one's called Big Boy, but it's different marketing. It's orange, and it's not related to that. They don't have the guy holding a big sign.
It's like in like Burger King in Australia. It's the same company. And
Hungry Jack's?
Yeah, but there was a Burger King there, so it's Hungry Jack's.
Yeah. Ecuador, where I grew up, didn't have McDonald's for years because some guy opened up a McDonald's in the 50s. Same thing. Some Ecuadorian guy was like, I've got the name. It's my McDonald's.
Yeah, smart.
So they're like, fine, we're not coming then.
Great. they were like,
we'll be fine
without the $11.
Yeah.
Without the Iran, without the Contras.
That's Central America, 1,000 miles away, but close, yeah.
Oh, that's Nicaragua. Sorry.
Oh, man, it's usually the Americans that don't know their geography.
Well, at least I knew it was Nicaragua.
I
Ecuador had a civil war in the 80s, did it not?
No, you're thinking of El Salvador.
I'm sorry. Wait, Ecuador didn't have a civil war?
No.
Didn't you grow up in a civil war? You always told me it was a civil war.
Let me answer. I spent 4 years in El Salvador, which had a civil war, and then we moved to Ecuador in 85.
Oh.
So El Salvador did Sandinistas, the Duarte, the Green Party.
Yeah.
And we had Arena, the Red Party, the Sandinistas. And, I got bullied over that as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, which party you believe in? Whatever you say, I'm 5. I don't care.
I can't wait for that to be in America. In
But
5 years.
I had a great time with JJ. He's doing good. We had long-time listeners know a month ago when I was there, we had an incident where he shaved all of his hair, most of his body hair that he could reach, and
might do that later today.
The only difference is he's not on Raya. That's the big difference.
Oh yeah, it's a dating app, guys.
It's like, or he's not on whatever. I was just making a joke. I don't know if you're on any of the dating apps, but he's not a dating app guy. He did it because I don't know why. He just shaves his body hair.
Yeah, I get it. Let me ask you a question.
Speaking of which, we're about to play footsies here.
Oh, okay, I'll give you.
All
All
right,
right,
go.
you were moving close. Anyway, so last time we had this podcast. Last episode, you were in Sweden, and you said that you took him to waterfalls, and he was super excited about it. And you said you were going to do it again. Did you do it again? And did he like it?
We did. We had a weird one. So he really doesn't like physical activity, and he's heavier than me. He's a big man.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're really trying to get him to get physically active. And I have it in the news, another one, but we'll do it next week. That's more PG-13. Well, we'll talk about that. Well, we can talk about it now.
Just do it now.
We're trying to get him active because idle hands are the devil's work, is the old expression.
Yeah.
But I'll give you parents, if you're listening with little ones under the age of probably 11 or 12, this is the time to exit the room. We'll keep it clean as possible. But 3, 2, 1. Well,
it's real, and it's something everyone.
Yeah,
we're all you're
might
dealing
give
with.
You a heads up if you're listening with little kids on your commute.
Yeah.
But he touching himself is a thing. Physically, he is a fully anatomically accurate man.
Same with Peter. Yeah.
Yeah, he might be a 4-year-old in his mind, 4 or 5. I always call JJ, but physically he's fine, and all his reproductive parts work. And so he went to a stage where he would touch himself publicly, and then not that you can't do that here. You got to do that in your room. Okay, so then he figured that out, and then now he comes and asks you, like, puts one hand on his waistband and like raises his eyebrows, like, "Can I take my pants off?" And that's code for, "Can I take my pants off and go lie in my bed and touch myself?" Which is okay, but
does he look at bikini babes on YouTube
cartoons.
Or something? He looks at cartoons and does it?
Cartoons.
Interesting.
So I don't know if
it's sexual or not, or if it's just like it feels good.
Yeah, I don't think it's sexual. I think it's more of a just like he knows it feels good, and he doesn't. Again, I don't want to be too graphic, but I don't think he's doing it to completion. It's more of a thing to do, and so it can drag on. And so that's another reason we're really trying to find him work to keep him busy, because he's 24. He's at the peak of his sexuality, really. I mean, these next few years is probably the peak, I would guess. 25 this year, and
if it's anything like you, it'll
drag on.
It's
forever.
all downhill.
It's all downhill. It's over. It's over.
Yeah. About a year, it'll be over.
So it was an interesting discussion I'm trying to have with his, because it could be, and again, I'm trying to speak delicately about this, but I think it's important to discuss an issue that affects other parents. But he can
We're
do it
adults.
To the point, yeah, he can do it to the point where he can hurt himself because it's so
interesting,
so much, so much time there.
Yeah, I went through that phase when I was like 14, 15. I think every guy does, and we're like, well, that was too much. Right. that hurt.
Yes.
So
then when you try to give him a shower or something, and you get soap involved. And
yeah.
So.
And he doesn't have that governor.
Right.
To be like understanding the correlation between this
We're not
too much.
Sure if he's understanding. He's hurting himself.
Yeah.
Because he often hurts himself other ways.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't seem. Sometimes I feel like there's a natural aversion to hurting yourself. Like, oh, I won't do that again. He doesn't have that very much. Like the headbutting. He'll draw blood. He'll headbutt something until he's hurt himself. He'll pick at something. He'll pick at sores or scabs or mosquito bites or. Yeah, so he'll keep picking his nose until it draws blood.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things we're working through, trying to figure out, and takes us back to finding them a job. Anyway, all that to answer your question. So finding physical activity. We went to this. If you listened last week, we went to this waterfall that he really liked.
Mm-hmm.
I took a day in between. We didn't do that. We went to Big Boys, and where one of his cousins works, and we saw his cousin, who's like 50 years older than me. But technically it's one of his cousins, and second cousin. And then we went back to the waterfall. At the beginning of the waterfall, the base, there's a gift store that sells ice cream. So, like I told you last time, we got ice cream before and after. Well, this time we had an ice cream before. And then I'm like, okay, we had our ice cream. Now let's climb this thing. He had like a Magnum. I don't know if you're familiar with, they have those overseas.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are so good.
Yes.
It's like a ice cream chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Like chocolate covered ice cream bar. Yeah.
It's not like it's like a full 500 calories. Like, you've had enough. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, then he wanted another one. Well, I just felt like you don't need 2 ice creams. We've already eaten, several times this day. We've already had So he kind of had a little bit of a, we had like a little bit of a argument, where he's like, no, 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 no. And he repeats back what you say, but like in an angry way.
Yeah.
And, but about maybe 10% in, I got him, we got moving, finally got him going about 20% in. Now he's moving. Now he's over it. Well, there was a break.
20% in
up
the hike.
Hill, sorry, yeah. There was a break about the waterfall's broken up into these like little plateaus where you can kind of walk into kind of the waterfall, or at least be you're above the base, but you're about 100 feet, 200 feet in the air. But you can walk, and there's flat areas you can walk and sit and take pictures. And I'll try to post them to my Instagram stories later today. Mm-hmm. But just the way the water's falling, he really enjoyed it. And then he was like, because the last time he didn't go that part, wasn't interested. It's hard to make him do stuff
totally
that's physically perilous. Like, okay, now walk carefully here and don't fall down the waterfall.
Yeah.
And I'm literally having to push him or pull him.
And if he fell and hurt himself, you can't carry him.
I have a hard time carrying him down.
Yeah.
He's about 260. So, and lately, for the first time, for the first time, it was very eye-opening. I'm starting to just feel, I don't know if I feel my age, but I don't feel his age. I don't feel like we're just two men. I feel like, nah, I'm old. I can't carry you down this hill.
Yeah.
Like 3 years ago before COVID really messed up my body. Like, I probably could have carried him down. But like, now I don't think I could do it.
No.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, I don't. Maybe your reality has just hit you because he was 260 before COVID, and you're still like whatever you are, 360.
Half of it though is just like mind over matter. If you're going to be able to make yourself will yourself to do stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I could never lift him, but we definitely, when we wrestle, I can feel the difference. I'll tell you that.
I am younger than you were pre-COVID, and biometrics stronger, handsomer, and I could not carry somebody who's 260.
I was doing 100 pull-ups a day before COVID.
Yeah.
100. I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever. Anyway, I'm dying.
Yeah.
What I want you to get out of this episode is I'm dying.
Yeah.
This podcast is my Make-A-Wish. Get on my Patreon.
Yeah.
That's my main thing.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, look old.
But he really enjoyed it. So he really, we got distracted. Sorry. But he really enjoyed it. And he was laughing, which is rare. Smiling.
Yes.
Exterior effects of joy, which is very rare for this man.
Yes.
And
was he stimming because he's so happy?
Took off, and that was another thing. He took off his earphones because he always has his earphones. Always listen to music.
Yeah.
Got his little Veggie Tales going. Took them off, just holding them. Just stared at the waterfall, looking around. Then looks at me, smiles.
Oh my
looks
gosh!
Back at the waterfall. It's like
Dude.
Christmas for Kirk.
Oh my gosh! I'm gonna cry. Did you cry?
Yeah.
Did you tear up?
I blame it on the allergies, but it was nice.
Did you tear up?
No.
This man dead inside. That is so cute, man.
It was a long walk and it was hot, but he enjoyed it.
That's so great. What a great memory.
And then and then there's like 3 plateaus. So we went to the next one. There's a bunch of Asian tourists traveling around taking pictures, and he destroyed every one of their pictures by being in the background. Just wandering around, looking around. I'm like, okay, sorry about that.
There's this like viral thing going around. It's like 4 picture frames of this like, big doughy guy intentionally ruining this like influencer's pool shots. She's like got her whatever thing on and posing, and he just does a cannonball behind her, and he's like splashing, and she's giving him the finger. Anyway,
that's pretty funny.
That has nothing to do with anything, but that's pretty funny.
He was doing that, but unintentionally.
Yeah.
Just wandering around.
Great. It's life. Deal with it, guys.
Well,
were they angry?
You are outdoors at a public park.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. I love it.
No, the thing is that I always forget is I'm a pretty big man. He's a big man. Like he outweighed most of these guys and girls he's probably twice their weight.
Yeah.
So, and you're walking up there and you're like you're on rocks and it's wet. And so you're trying to be careful, and you've got this big hulking guy just wandering around, swinging his arms. Like, all right, watch out for that guy.
Yeah,
he could just hip check you off the mountain here.
It's such an interesting phenomenon, and I talk about it in my one-man show about how my brother is so big, but so vulnerable, but
Right.
so physically powerful.
Yes, if he
Still.
can figure it out.
So no, but it's just like he can hurt people.
Yes.
But he's innocent at the same time.
Yes.
And I don't know, it's a dynamic you don't see a lot.
He's hurt me. He hurt his mother. He broke her ribs one time, like kicking. She was trying to get him to do something. He was like 11 or 12, and he's already 6 foot, and he's trying to kick, and then, kicked her right in the ribs, broke some of her ribs.
Wow. My brother has hurt my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad had to protect my mom. And this is a long time ago, but he's been a big guy for a long time. Yeah. My brother has been bigger than most human beings in the world for 20 years.
The majority of his life.
Yeah. At this point.
And my son's coming up on that too now. 25, the majority of his over 6 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's bigger than me. He's a lot bigger than me.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of wrestling, not as much wrestling. He wasn't as into it this time. Big Boy, IKEA. There's a new candy shop in Sweden. Sweden is going through a very interesting currency devaluation, which is hard to believe. But so historically, things are very expensive in Sweden. And like gasoline right now is still very expensive, like 7 something a gallon.
Mm.
But excuse me,
7 American or kroners?
7 American. It's like 20 krona a liter, 3.7 liters to an American gallon. So 10 krona to $1. So it's $2 a liter, 3.7 liters to a gallon. So that's $7 a gallon. It's very expensive. That's one of the reasons his car is so small. Like gets very good gas mileage in the 50s, 50 miles per gallon. But so this candy shop. So they have this new candy shop that's the old school kind of candy shop that they do in all of Sweden, where you can individually scoop out which candies you want. They're not packaged.
Yeah.
It's kind of rare in the States, I feel like.
Because they have a thing in Canada called Bulk Barn. Do they have that here?
I've never heard of that. They have Boot Barn.
Oh. Bulk Barn's it's that, but with like nuts and candy and grain or whatever. So
it's really nice because I like him to try the stuff. You don't need to eat a pound of candy. Mm. But if you want to eat, so we'll pick 10 pieces of candy. So it's like a little, the size of a Snickers, because they're like little, he'll have a gummy bear and one of these. But he'll go and pick out each one of his, and then that's a big step for him, because before he would have he had to have a freaking kilo of candy or he'd have a total meltdown. And now he takes 10 pieces, and we made a stop at the candy thing, and it's $2. You're not buying, $30 of candy. And then same thing like IKEA. IKEA in Sweden, I should say, has these little bags of candy. I'm doing an act out on a podcast, but it's the size of I'd say half the size of a postcard of candy, and they're like $1. So it's okay. There's 15 pieces of candy in there, which is like, a couple hundred calories. It's not, a jumbo. We do big sizes in America, obviously, and the candy's different there. No artificial sweeteners and no artificial colors either, dyes. So, so that was a big step for him, that you can. I don't think we had any meltdowns this week. I didn't have any with him.
Amazing.
Went to the gas station, went to IKEA, went to Big Boy. We went to see his cousin. We went to.
What a gift to have another thing that he likes.
Honestly, this might be his favorite thing.
So he
right now.
Maybe you could go there like once a week or with the car.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what it's like in the winter, because
the winter's
it's already
bad,
it was already late
in the summer.
It's like late 60s. It was like not late 60s, high 60s. And it was July.
Yeah, late July. Yeah.
Like summer's having a heat wave in Sweden. It's like 67 degrees.
Yeah.
But you're he's at the same latitude as like Juneau, Alaska. So.
Yeah, but he's also probably I think you've mentioned this before. He's someone who runs hot.
Yeah, that was another thing. So he took off his shirt.
Yeah.
And he's, jiggling around, but there wasn't a lot of people.
Whatever. Who cares?
Wasn't a lot of people.
It's human body.
Oh, that was another thing. On the way down, he didn't. If I can trick him into not getting a second ice cream.
That darn ice cream is on the bottom end.
Yeah.
On the way in and on the way out.
So on the way out, we just walked straight to the car, and he didn't ask. I'm like, great. It's not even the money thing. He just doesn't need to eat an ice cream every time we make a stop.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So he didn't throw a hissy fit and we didn't have to get a second ice cream and
yeah.
because the last time we bought an ice cream,
It must be hard not to try and spoil him because you don't get to see him very often.
I know. Because sometimes I'm like, what do I care? Just eat the ice creams.
Well, yeah, you want to be.
I don't want to have an argument the 2 days I get to see you.
It's
whatever.
like you're a divorced dad. And then
I
you
have limited time.
Yeah, and you want to spoil the kid to get him on. It's like who cares?
And I already spoiled him anyway because we're still doing fast food. We're still doing IKEA. Like IKEA that day, we still had. I let him choose what he wanted. He wanted a pork schnitzel, which is like
I want a pork schnitzel.
A breaded pork.
Yeah, it's a chicken parmesan, but with pork.
French fries. He had an ice cream at IKEA. They have ice creams there, popsicles. And he had something else. Oh, a juice box he really wanted. I'm like, it's fine. You get a juice box. Yeah, I just got to pick my battles.
Yeah.
And, he just had a Magnum an hour before that or 2 hours before that.
Maybe he was like, remembered the argument. He's like, he's not going to give it to me. I already tried this.
Well, the day before or 2 days before, I gave him a second ice cream. Then he ate my ice cream, and then he also picked out. They had this black licorice candy, this big thing on a stick. And he's like, "You really wanted it?" I'm like, "Take it. You're gonna hate it." Well, because the currency too is like $2 because the currency's devalued recently. Anyway, he ate the whole thing. So I'm like, "All right, I guess you like black licorice now."
Now we got a new thing. Yeah.
Who likes black licorice?
Pete's doing okay as far as my brother.
Yeah, sorry, that was a long update. I'm really sorry.
I loved it. I love a good update. You don't get to go to Sweden that often, so we need to hear what JJ's up to. And it was a nice one. Made me happy. Yeah, and also, to be quite honest, no real update with Pete. He is coming to see me in a month. That's exciting. And I've got some. He's going to stay with me in my apartment, and my parents are going to. I have to get them an Airbnb. I was supposed to do that last night, but instead I worked on my own stuff. Anyway, yeah, he's good. He's just working. He is still not chit-chatting too much, which is good. We did have a little bit of an argument about. He was like, I'm not going to work Boxing Day. It falls on one of my work days. So I'm going to tell them in November that I'm not working Boxing Day. I'm like, you don't get to do that. Because there was a problem we had when he was getting hired, right?
I don't work weekends.
He's like, it's like, you don't get it.
Your whole life's a weekend, bro.
Yeah, your whole life. Yeah, I don't work weekends. It's like, what? You're unemployed. Anyway, so he's like, I'm not working Boxing Day. Boxing Day is the day after Christmas in the UK and Canada and wherever. So anyway, I convinced him that we could get him an Uber, but he has to go. He doesn't want to go because the buses don't run as often on holidays. Yeah. And he was like, okay. He remembered our previous argument, and he was like, well, maybe you could get me an Uber.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, I could do that. And he goes, okay. And we start talking about something else for another 5 minutes. And then he's like, yeah, I'm probably not going to work on Boxing Day. I'm like, no, you're working on Boxing Day, man. He'd be like, well, maybe it would be cool if I didn't work on Boxing Day. I'm like, no, working. He's like, all right. Just test the water.
Just to test you a little bit, see if you still remember.
Little stinker.
A little test.
Yeah. Anyway, let's do In the News.
This is a good one. I'm excited about this.
Well, it's something. We'll see. I think it's a good one. But anyway, this is from the Duluth Register. 80 years after its first diagnosis, people with autism are fighting to erase the stigma surrounding the disorder. Autism spectrum disorder, blah, blah, blah. In 1943, child psychiatrist Leo Kramer first diagnosed early infantile autism in Donald Triplett and attributed the disorder to poor parenting. I still believe that. Your fault, Kirk. Triplett, who later became known as Case 1, died in June at the age of 89. So last month. Jillian Nelson is a policy advocate with the Autism Society of Minnesota, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting people with autism, according to Nelson. In decades since Triplett's diagnosis, autism has begun to evolve from something to be cured to a community of people, which is side note, uh, people on the more functioning side, the higher functioning side of autism, definitely do not feel like they have a disorder, and they feel insulted when people try and cure who they are, and I totally get that. It's like I think differently. That's a good thing. Stop trying to cure me. You know, it would be very insulting.
Right.
You know.
But the rebuttal is, yeah, I don't want to cure JJ. I just want him to understand if he touches himself like this long, he's going to hurt himself. So if he's not even able to understand the basics of it, he needs an advocate to speak up for him.
I'm speaking only for the people who are higher functioning.
Got it.
I'm trying to be very specific about the people who are higher functioning. For the people that are higher functioning, I could see why they would be insulted. I disagree with the people who are higher functioning who come after me about my one-man show.
It's so crazy
because they don't understand that my brother is different than them and needs advocating for. But anyway, going back to the article, it's begun to evolve as something to be from something to be cured to a community of people. And I think the community aspect is really great for those people who are higher functioning. We're seeing the development of taking back the diagnosis from a pathology to creating a meaningful culture and community, Nelson said. It's so powerful because when we find places that we belong, and when we're surrounded by people like us, there's so much support and understanding. Nelson grew up struggling in school, knowing there was something different about her, and after several rounds of diagnosis, was told she had autism when she was 21. Although her diagnosis made her life make sense, Nelson said she hid her autism for years due to stigma and lack of understanding surrounding the disorder. I remember being there, lots of tears in my end, just fears and anxiety about the future. The official diagnosis, it's bittersweet, but it's definitely helps open doors for further support. Finding other people in her community has helped support and validate her autism, Nelson said. However, she added people who do not experience AASD still view people with disorder as others. We still look at individuals that have higher support needs and assume that because their challenges are more visible, that their lives are less valuable. I love that. That is a really good point. This is me speaking now. Now I'm going back to the article. Nelson said, I'd like to see us stop that and understand that where we really are in the world of autism is needing acceptance and appreciation across the board. Part of that acceptance comes through diagnosis, a process that has continued to evolve over recent decades, according to Nan Huai, a psychologist at Caravel Autism Health in Duluth. Doctors diagnose ASD in children through testing, including behavioral observation, blah, 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 we all know this. Huai added technology has significantly advanced in the last 20 years to provide more accurate diagnosis for children, but treatment plans are still often not what families expect. Out of love and hope for their children, some parents want autism to be cured, Huai said. Families feel this is a disease of infection that can be gotten rid of. Nearly 3% of children have been identified as having ASD, according to the Centers of Disease Control, blah, blah. Whether it's researching ways to activate kids' brains or simply joining in the playtime to encourage their social interaction, Huai said that earlier a child's recognized and supported as having autism, the more their lives can be changed for the future. In some cases, I will add, myself being Graham K. As far as current science tells us, this is a lifelong condition, and what we are doing through therapy is teaching kids how to manage, cope, and survive despite some of the barriers brought by autism. Huai said children with autism have a lot of wonderful characteristics. They are different but not less. Shannon Swagel, who lives in Rice Lake area, I assume that's also in Minnesota, first noticed her son Jack was developing slowly with social skills and speech when she was 14 months old.
When he was 14 months old.
Right, After continuing to notice signs of autism, doctors diagnosed Jack with ASD in 2020, and the family has worked with Caravel since it opened in 2021. I remember there being lots of tears on my end, just fears and anxiety about the future, Swagel said. The official diagnosis is bittersweet, but definitely helps. Already read that quote. Steps for while she considers her family lucky for the support she received, Swagel said they had to navigate treatment without information, social workers, or even county-provided disability services for more than 2 years. I'm sure a lot of listeners know what that's like. Additionally, Jack's parents went on their own journey to accept their son and eventually became advocates for other members of their family or people in their community who do not understand ASD or the people that experience it, Swagel said. Jack, now 6 years old, remains largely nonverbal. However, despite his diagnosis, Jack enjoys pictures and books and loves potty jokes, making his family laugh.
Say potty jokes?
Yeah, same.
I love it.
Same. Potty jokes are the best because, like, 5 years old, someone with autism.
95 years old.
95. It's just. Anyway, it's not all doom and gloom. There's so much joy with our Jack, Swagel said. He made me a better parent than I ever would have been before because you have to be a very present parent, and he's made me more open-minded about other people. That's the end of the article. Love it. And the reason why I picked this article and wanted to do it is in the past couple weeks, I've been really thinking about the potential of myself having very obviously mild autism. Obviously, I say, maybe looking at you, and you looking at me skeptically.
I'm just listening.
Yeah, but I like. It's we always joke about like how this podcast is really Graham slowly realizing he has autism because every article we read about it, I'm like, oh yeah, me too, a little bit of that, yep, can't sleep, okay, yep, tummy stuff, yeah, can't, whatever, and then I had a comedy club owner who's known me for years, for decades. I did a show there like a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you have autism for sure," because I was doing my autism show there, and I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I mean it's fine, it's great. It's like why you think differently, but I'm pretty sure you do." And he's got a few kids. I don't think he's callously say that. He's not a doctor, though. Yeah. He's not a doctor. I also think people like to diagnose people with autism right now. It's like
the hip new thing.
A nom de jour, But I think that and then I had another fairly close friend. We were having lunch in a group setting, and he was like, "Yeah, you have autism." And I was like, what, like how, like why? And he was like, well, you just do stuff. He goes, I've been around people my whole life. I know that you do. And then I asked another friend, and I was like, I told him that story, and I was like, do you think I have autism? And he's like, there have been times when you've been very blunt with me in a way. He's like, well, and you're like, well, just don't do that then. When another person wouldn't say that. And it's like, so all this to say that I took I took an online test.
BuzzFeed?
Not a BuzzFeed. It was a UK medical test. A medical test from the UK. You don't have to sign up. It was from a reputable UK institution, but
BuzzFeed UK?
Huh? BuzzFeed UK. BuzzFeed.co.uk.
I'm sorry.
And yeah, it was.
Continue. I'm just adding a little levity. Go ahead.
No, I was trying to think of what was it? FHM.
Hello Magazine.
Yeah, Hello Magazine. Anyway, it was like at the end, it was like you likely have autism. You should seek a real diagnosis. This is not an official thing. You should seek a real diagnosis. Blah blah blah. And then I talked to, and it's honestly pretty unofficial. They ask you like 15 multiple choice questions, and then they give you a little like number out of 20, and I'm like 16 or something.
I need to take one of those to see, are you dead inside?
Well, I can answer that for you right now.
Is that a yes or no? Binary.
Yeah, that one time you looked out the window and you said, something died in me a long time ago, and with no irony.
Well, it wasn't being ironic.
I know. Anyway, so I asked my therapist about it, and then he was like, I've been around people like that. I've worked with people like that, and usually there is a feeling of something I'm used to missing, like not being there, and you don't have that. I don't get that from you. So I don't know what it all means.
Something I'm used to being by you not being there. What does that mean?
Something I'm used to seeing in people is missing.
Okay, got it. You don't have this thing.
I don't have this.
Got it. Graham K doesn't have this thing I'm used to seeing with people with autism?
Yes.
Okay.
And anyway, I do think that, like, you know, there are certain things I view things. I do view things as very black. I don't know where to take it from here in summation, but I do think that are, you know, like, one of the reasons why Greta Thunberg is so good for climate is because she can't. Her autism does not allow her to get fooled by a gray area. We are going to all die if we don't fix this, so why don't we fix this environmental problem? That's how her mind is working. And I deal in a lot of cases a very binary way as well. And I think we've had discussions on this podcast that have turned people off in the past because the way I look at it, there's no gray zone where someone without autism, I can't see how someone without autism would be upset listening to it. Or maybe somebody with autism could be upset by listening to it. Because I think I'm dealing in a very, like, well, this is reality, let's just discuss reality. Why do we have to be fake? Or pussyfoot around something.
Yeah, you don't see their point of view or how they could come across, how they could see it differently, yeah.
Yeah, I can't, it's like, that's hard for me. So anyway, I've got to, like, look into this a little more. I don't want to be one of these self-diagnosed TikTokers, which is like, it's like a stolen valor type thing in my mind. Well, I have autism. Well, you're just some self-diagnosed person who wants to feel special. Do you really have trouble? Like, you know, what my brother's been through, you know? Yeah. Anyway, I think we did another episode.
Part of that, though, let me just add one little thing, sorry. Goes back to, I think there needs to be clearer nomenclature around what we're talking about.
Yes.
Like, if you're asking me, do I think you might have some, I want to speak delicately, but some, you know, attributes associated with autism? Sure. Are you dealing with the same things that my son's dealing with? No.
No. So I'm so fortunate. I mean, my life is, and I don't think I have it. I mean, I might have it. Who knows? But that the kernel is growing in me that I might have it. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't hurt you.
Yeah.
To go talk to a specialist about it.
Do you think I have it?
I mean, I am definitely the farthest thing from a doctor, but I don't think it hurts to go to talk to a specialist if it's.
That's a yes.
No, I was going to say, if it bothers you, I think it's always positive to get more information.
All right. Well, I like this episode.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Kirk Smith, at Kirk Smith Comedy. Follow him on YouTube. He's trying to grow that. Follow his Facebook.
Helps me a lot, guys.
I'm at Graham K Comedy on YouTube. I'm trying to grow my YouTube as well. I'm at Mr. Graham K on the old Instagram and Twitter. I am also and Threads. Yuck. And I'm also OK Graham K on TikTok. But anyway, yeah, I've got more shows coming up in September and October, doing my one-man show called My Brother Has Autism, but we're changing the name to Pete and Me. Hired a publicist. gonna have to change the name because people are
like
non-autistic people, people are weary of that. So we're changing it to Pete and Me, and I'm doing my one. Anyway, I really need you to come see my one-man show so it's not a disaster because I'm putting up all the money. I'm renting a theater. I need you to come see it. Go to my website, grahamk.com. If you're in the New York area, please come see my one-man show, September and October. Those are the ones that I need you to come to. Okay.
That's it. Have a great week, guys. You can do it.